This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Grant, it's a Wednesday edition of the show, which means what?
Hump day!
Yeah, it is. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. We're having a good old time. Grant's a little in the gutter, unfortunately. He's still a little depressed from Monday, not from whatever day it was. It feels like it was a year ago already, Grant. You got to move on and let it go.
I will never
let
move
it go.
On. Never move on.
You need to just let it go, Grant. Anyway, Grant's a little upset about the Wisconsin Badgers losing. We'll get into that in a minute. But
I wish we didn't have to.
We need to, though, Grant. The good people, we're a Wisconsin-based sports show, Grant. People are dying to know what we think about the Wisconsin
They already
Badgers.
know what happened. They can just make up whatever they want to think that we said.
That's a little dangerous, I feel like. But anyway, you can reach us on a lot of different platforms, Grant, which is on social media, which is where?
You can hit us up on Twitter at BG Sports Show. You can also find us on Facebook at the Bax and Grant Sports Show. And you can also email us, bgsportshow@gmail.com. We also just got an Instagram, and you can save any, or you can hashtag any pictures, the Bax Grant Sports Show.
Yes, indeed. We're all there on the social media aspects. You can find us, like we said, with the hashtag. If you do hashtag it, it will show up on sportsradioamerica.com as well, so that's a cool way to get pictures that you think, the sporty things you think Grant and I might appreciate. We'd love to see those pictures. Or videos as well, too. They'll show up as well. Remember, you can catch us right here Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. on Spreaker.com or Facebook, depending on how you listen to us. And then we are live from 12 to 3 Eastern on Sports Radio America, TuneIn Radio, and Live 365. So multiple platforms. And eventually, in the near future, we will be making more of an official launch on the video side of things as well. You'll be able to listen and watch us at the same time, depending on the platform and device that you are looking at us at. Now, Grant, I understand that you are upset, but I have something to hopefully make you feel a little better. Just a little.
I don't see how that's possible.
Now, Grant, I'm going to take into account this morning two of your favorite people, Tim Tebow and Jay Cutler.
Okay, those aren't my two favorite people,
but it's going to make
okay.
My question to you, Grant, is who is the better Christian, Tim Tebow or Jay Cutler?
That's not a fair question, because that just goes into a whole theological thing that I'm not gonna. They're equal.
Well, the caption from the NFL meme that I'm going to show you is that Tim Tebow, it says, prays after every touchdown, and Jay Cutler gives up all his possessions. So who do you feel like is the better Christian? So I figured you needed a little something to. I saw this last night right before bed and just died laughing.
Okay, that actually did kind of.
I thought that would help you out a little bit.
That was good.
Before we dive into the more real things, I thought you'd appreciate it.
Yeah, a little dose of happiness before you stab me in the heart.
But I thought it was funny though. I'm like, Jay Cutler. I mean, it's hard because you're told to give up all your possessions, but Tim Tebow prays after every touchdown. Yep. So I mean. Who's the better Christian? You decide, Tim Tebow or Jay Cutler. Oh, my gosh. But anyway, Grant, we do need to make the transition, and it's a very easy, subtle transition, not like my normal off-the-left-field wall green monster transitions for you. March Madness, it is officially in the books. The men's and women's tournaments are both completely finished. We saw the UConn Huskies win last night, so congratulations to them. In the women's tournament, and then we saw on Monday night the Duke Blue Devils capture the national championship as well. Now, the March Madness as a whole was very crazy. We saw a lot of big games. We saw some surprise teams, especially when it came to the Final Four. You talk about Michigan State really kind of coming out of nowhere. I mean, we talked about them being a March team, but even still, I think when they were given a 7th seed, not too many people thought Michigan State of all teams was going to make the Final Four.
Right. That was very impressive that they made it, but not really all that shocking just to see how far that Michigan State normally goes, or any Mike Izzo team really. They go to the Final Four more frequently than one might think.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that thing with Tom Izzo's team is they're always incredibly well coached. They really have a knack for hitting those big
Tom
games.
Izzo, not Mike Izzo. I don't
Tom,
know.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm talking about
That's
today.
his brother Mike, I'm sure. I don't know. They're twins. I'm not exactly
I
sure.
don't know where I got Mike from. Everybody's name is Mike, apparently.
Exactly. You're Mike, I'm Mike. It's Mike and Mike. Well, no, it's not. We're not Mike and Mike. We love those guys. Anyway, but I guess some of the other surprises, you could say Notre Dame. They had a really, really impressive run. I mean, they did have the 3 seed coming in, so you'd like to assume as a 3 seed they would make it relatively far. They did lose on that last second shot to Kentucky, 68-66 in the Elite 8 game. Do you want to make an argument that Wisconsin making it all the way to the national championship was a surprise team?
Not a surprise at all. No, not a surprise at all.
Not a surprise at all.
Yes, because I said going into the tournament, I said that I wouldn't be surprised if they got upset, but they were able to. Yeah, they struggled a little bit at the beginning, especially the Oregon game, but they were able to knuckle down, play Wisconsin basketball, and they were able to make it all the way to the championship game, and I'm not surprised by that at all. Yeah, it was like 15 or 16% of the 11 million brackets entered into SportsCenter had Wisconsin going all the way to the national game. So that's a very decent number. I don't think it might have been a surprise to some people, but then at the same time, I think other people saw Wisconsin's potential. But then if you were looking at their weaknesses, you could definitely make an argument saying that they would be a team that would be upset.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument for any of the 1 seeds as well. I mean, Villanova had bowed out way too early, and people were like, well, I guess they didn't really deserve a 1 seed. Well, it's hard to really know if you deserve that 1 seed or not until you make it a certain distance in the tournament.
Well, and you can't even say that, they don't deserve a seed just because they get upset somewhere in a tournament. The seeding goes by how you played in the regular season, and Villanova played 1 seed caliber in the regular season. The regular season is, 33 or 30...
I think it's 34 games.
34 games, somewhere around there. And they lose 1 game and they're no longer one of the top caliber teams in college basketball. No, that's not how that works. It's just they were upset, unfortunately. They had 1 bad game. It happens to a lot of teams. It happens to every team in sports. And it just is unfortunate when it happens on a big stage like this. And I don't think that they didn't deserve the 1 seed. I think that the seeding actually went fairly well, that minus a couple like maybe Wichita State we talked about and Michigan State were maybe a little underseeded. But other than that, I don't think there was a lot of problems, especially taking into the second day of the tournament. There was no big upsets. The teams that quote-unquote were supposed to win, if you're going to go by seeding, all won. We're not going to look at the first day because that was just a bunch of crazy upsets.
Exactly, yeah.
But the seeding, in my opinion, went fairly well.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a lot of complaints about that. I mean, that's always something that the committee reviews after every year. Okay, well, how did we seed them? How did they do? And then they make proper adjustments next year, saying, okay, well, if we were presented with the same situation, in the future, how are we going to go about doing it? It just really kind of depends on that. But Grant, in terms of March Madness, obviously everyone filled out their bracket. Everyone did their very best. I know my brackets were busted pretty early. I know a lot of people's were. But the official results are in, Grant.
I'm pretty sure you
from the Vax and Grant Sports Show.
I don't even check because I deleted my app before the game ended. I was just so upset.
I can understand why.
I deleted anything basketball. I was not happy.
I would understand why. But anyway, Grant, the official results are in. You finished in the top 3, so I'm proud of you for that. You finished in you finished in a 3-way tie for 3rd place. You, Joel Wolfrath, and Megan Landvatter all finished with 880 points, so congratulations with that. Danny Hoffenstein finished in 2nd with 890, and then I actually won with 1,170 points. I had 3 out of the 4 Final Four.
Oh, that's how you did it.
And I had the final correct as well, except I had Duke won instead of Wisconsin, but I still, those extra points helped me along the way.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what we're going to have to do to you now, Grant, now that the official
just let me go because I'm still in a deep state of depression.
You are, so I almost feel like that's punishment enough, the fact that Wisconsin lost. You're just kind of like, and very, very depressed about it. So
I have not had a good couple last 2 days. I mean, I would keep on saying it, but it was just rough.
No, I can understand why.
The game, and do you want to get into it now? We can get into it now.
Let's talk about it shortly, and then we have other things to move on to. But I know you have thoughts and feelings about the game, so
because
please.
I wasn't going to rant about it because it takes a little more time for this, and
we could have a special edition of it.
We could just for the game and just comments I had on the game. Well, yes, you can argue that the Badgers shooting was subpar, and yes, it was. Their free throws, I think their first 6 free throws, they went 2 for 6, and I don't think they had any left in the first half, and I don't remember because they had foul trouble and Duke did not. So I don't think they shot any free throws in the second half, and that definitely came back to bite them in the butt. Also, their shooting down the pipe in the second half within the last 10 minutes was lackluster. It was here and there, but they still, in my opinion, did a lot and did enough. But the big problem was, and I know people are going to say, oh, bias, and you were even saying it like, I didn't think the officiating was that bad.
I didn't think it was that
bad.
But
the officiating was bad.
I don't think it was.
There was a couple times where the refs, that's the word I'm looking for, where the refs took away possessions from Wisconsin. It was around 4 or 5 possessions. There was 2 out-of-bounds plays, and there was a couple fouls that the Badgers should have had. I remember 2 distinct charging fouls that I was like, he is flat-footed, he was in the lane, he just got bulldozed over, and there was no call. Mm-hmm. And it was really frustrating to watch, and especially there was a lot of fouls on Wisconsin that I didn't think were really fouls because Wisconsin was just getting in the lane, putting their arms up, and then this Allen guy from Duke, I don't even care. I don't even want to hear the name Allen for the rest of my life, goes up, just runs into him, gets the layup, and then he gets another and one. And that happened a couple times, and it was really frustrating because I'm like, Wisconsin is just standing in the lane. They're putting their arms up, and the guy's just running into them, and then they're getting the foul. So that was really frustrating as a fan. I don't think the refs let them play.
Let them play.
They didn't let them play. And yeah. It was a really frustrating thing to watch, and there was a lot of question into reviewing plays that the one that was tipped off the fingertip, and you could clearly see there was replay, and his finger touched the ball and moved, and the ball changed direction, and they said that they didn't see enough. Also, there was a play.
It was very faint, though.
But it was there. He touched the ball and it went. But then also, people didn't see before it bounced off both their bodies, the Duke player, it bounced off his elbow. And then hit his finger. So he touched it twice, but everybody was focused so much on the finger thing that they didn't even notice it bounce off his elbow. So that was one play that took a possession away. And then the other play that it was a big momentum change, a big momentum shift, and Duke either got 2 or 3 points out of it, I can't remember, but the player stepped out of bounds.
Yep, I saw that as well.
And then threw it in. So once again, Wisconsin lost the possession. There was some pretty bad officiating, and I know I'm just not a soapbox now, and
would you like me to help you off your soapbox? You're up there pretty high.
Yeah, but yeah, you can comment on it.
I mean, I don't have much to say because I know we have a lot to go to. I thought, yes, it was difficult to agree with some of the calls from the referee standpoint, but at the same time, it does come down, and I feel like John Madden, the team that scores the most points wins the game, but that's the honest truth. Wisconsin had a lot of opportunity to score points. They finished 7 of 21 from 3-point range, which is not good at all, especially for a team with Sam Dekker on it.
Yeah, and what I do want to say is that there was a lot of ill-advised 3-point shots, especially from Hayes. Yeah. I was actually thinking going into the game that he really redeemed himself for me personally because he played well. He played extremely well in the tournament, and there was 3 or 4 possessions where he just gets down and he dribbled for about 5 seconds and then shot the ball. And it wasn't Wisconsin basketball. That's never been Wisconsin's basketball.
No, it's not.
Wisconsin basketball has been draining down the shot clock and just hard-nosed, blue-collar basketball. And yeah, they're a shooting team. They pass it around a lot, and that leaves them a lot of open threes, but they don't just come down the court and then pop a three in somebody's eye.
They're not a counterattack offense.
Yeah,
it's a quick little, they don't transition well. They get it down the court like, oh, we got a fast break. Let's slow it down. Let's pass it around. Where's Frank? Where's Sam? Man, oh, no, it's not free there. Oh, okay, let's kick it out there. Oh, now Sam's open. Oh, shoot it. Oh, good. No, we made the basket, but it's like the transition play is not good, and I think that's why so many people like when Trayvon Jackson's on the court, because he's able to drive the hoop, he's able to attack it and kick it out wide.
He did do that a couple times.
He did a great job of that.
But one positive I do want to take away from the tournament is that we didn't get to talk about it because it's a little old and it's just how our shows landed up, but Wisconsin beating Kentucky, it was an awesome game to watch, and it was really fun, even though they didn't win, which I know is still disappointing for me. That was the first time that Wisconsin reached the final since 1941, so even though it didn't end the way that we wanted it to, congratulations, Wisconsin Badgers. Congratulations to Duke for winning the championship, even though I was like, that really hurt to say.
It pained you to say it, but you did it, Grant.
Credit goes where credit's due.
Exactly. Yep.
But congratulations to both teams.
Exactly. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs are heating up, Grant, and we're excited to see what's happening with that. And intern Laura's here as well, and we'll check in with her a little bit later in the show. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
All right, Grant. Well, the NBA, as we talked about March Madness in the first segment, we got to swing over to the NBA now because the playoffs, Grant, the playoffs are heating up.
Talk about the playoffs?
We're talking about the playoffs. It's almost playoff time in the NBA. They're excited. There's a lot of excitement going on around the league. I guess that would happen when there's excitement. There's going to be excitement around the league. I like to repeat myself in words and stuff.
The team that scores the most is going to win.
Usually how that works. If you score the most points, you have a really good chance of winning the game. Either way, my John Madden moment of the day brought to you by myself. Thank you so much. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. This Eastern Conference, though, Grant, is looking to be pretty much of a dogfight as there's about 5 teams battling for those final 3 spots. You could make an argument for 6. But the 5 teams so far that have locked up spots in the Eastern Conference are who, Grant?
The top 5 teams right now are the Atlanta Hawks 1, Cleveland Cavaliers 2, Chicago Bulls 3, Toronto Raptors 4, and the Washington Wizards in the 5 spot.
You're a wizard, Harry. No, I don't know. That's what I think of. But they're from D.C. They're not from Washington State, which
he did
weird.
This funky little wand thing with the sound effect when I said that.
I don't even know the spells. I've seen 2 Harry Potter movies.
That's actually really upsetting.
I'm sorry.
I think that's more upsetting than the Badgers losing.
And the ones I've seen have been the last one, the very last one, and I think
it's broken.
And the 4th one, I don't even know. I don't know.
Have you read any of the books?
No, I haven't.
Well,
I started
the
first book in middle school and put it down because I'm like, I don't understand what's going on.
It's fairly easy to read.
And then I started reading mystery books and sports books, and I was, born a sports journalist. That's just how I was.
Oh, whatever.
I put down my wand and picked up a microphone, Grant. That's how my transition worked.
You're a sportscaster, Baxter.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I've got instead of a little lightning bolt on me, I've got a little Nike swoosh on my head. Something like that. Oh, my gosh. But anyway, in the Eastern Conference,
jeez.
The things we talk about on this show. The Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks, Brooklyn Nets, Boston Celtics, Miami Heat, and Indiana Pacers. You can make an argument for the Charlotte Hornets. 6 teams all battling for those final 3 spots in the Eastern Conference. The Milwaukee Bucks, they've been hot, they've been cold, they've been yes, they've been no. Where are they going to go, Grant? I think a lot of people would love to see the Bucks go to the playoffs, but at the same time, they're kind of a faux pas in the East. It's like the Bucks are in the playoffs. Wow, the East must have really sucked this year.
Right. Well, they're 38-39 right now, and they've won. They've gone 4-6 in their last 10 games. And looking over at the Brooklyn Nets, they went 8-2 in their last 10 games. The Brooklyn Nets are 2 games behind them right now, and even the Bucks haven't clinched yet, but they're sitting pretty safe. Even though it's only 3 games, I think just if the Bucks can just knuckle down and finish up the season relatively strong, they should be fine because
they play like Cleveland Cavaliers this week, though. How strong can you be against this number 2
They
team
beat him in
East?
the beginning of the year.
Yeah, but that was when LeBron and Kevin Love didn't really know how to play basketball.
I don't even think LeBron James was even in that game.
Well, then
I think he was off the bench.
That's the reason for it. They're like, oh, we're playing the Bucks. Nah, LeBron, you can sit for this game.
Hey, but you never know.
Anything's possible.
But if the Bucks make the playoffs, I think that would just be, even though their record isn't really like playoff worthy, and we've talked about this, but if the Milwaukee Bucks make it, it'll be like a huge statement on
it will, yeah.
just how big of a swap they've had from last season, because they are on the verge of breaking 40 games, winning 40 games, and last year they won like what?
15.
15? Yeah.
15 total on the year.
Total. And they did that within the first 2 months of the season, which I don't care what team you are. That's impressive no matter how the season ends. If you can get to almost 40 wins, or if they do get to 40 wins by the end of the season, and with the season that they had last year. So that's really impressive. Proud of those guys, but it is going to be really interesting to see what the Heat are going to do. Obviously, now post LeBron James.
Yes.
Seeing what's happened to the team now. Last year,
they're not very good. They just aren't.
Right. And just how much of a player that LeBron James meant to that organization. Because, look, they made it to the finals a bunch of times. They always made it to the playoffs. They won a couple of titles. And now they're in the ninth out. In the outside looking in of the playoff picture.
They're the bubble team right now. And you talked so much about the big three. The big three when it was Miami, when it was LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. Let's be honest. It was LeBron James.
Right.
Yes, he had Dwayne Wade, who's a fantastic player. He has Chris Bosh, great player. But now you look at it in Miami, Dwayne Wade is doing the best he can to keep that ship from sinking. Chris Bosh, he's out for the year. And LeBron James is in Cleveland trying to relive the glory days, as it were. But even still, the Miami Heat are not as explosive. They're a very rickety team right now. Their offense is not as click as much as they used to. There's rumors that Dwayne Wade might leave at the end of the year.
Right.
I know LeBron's trying to recruit him to come to Cleveland.
I know. I think Chris Bosh is also rumored to maybe leave at the end of the year, too. I might be crazy, but I'm pretty sure I heard that
I think
somewhere.
There's been rumors about that, yeah. But either way, the Miami Heat organization, after being such a pinnacle focus of the NBA, especially the Eastern Conference, has really dropped off in recent years, and it's unfortunate to see that. Flipping over to the West Conference, 7 out of the 8 teams have qualified for the playoffs, Grant. Golden State, no real surprise there. Houston, Memphis, Portland, the Clippers, San Antonio, and the Dallas Mavericks. Now, fighting for those final 2 spots, Phoenix Suns, I don't really see them having an opportunity to get in unless they win out and everybody else loses. But the New Orleans Pelicans and the OKC Thunder both have 42 wins fighting for that last playoff spot. Now, if New Orleans wins, it gets in, it's going to be because of Anthony Davis, the man with the brow, the unibrow that's seen around the world, literally. And then OKC, you've got Russell Westbrook and a whole host of other generally good players, but it really comes down to whether or not Russell Westbrook is on the court for the Thunder.
Well, and they did lose a pretty important game last night to the Spurs.
Yep, after losing a game to the Rockets earlier on Easter Sunday.
So they really do need to start stepping it up, and they've lost 4 games in a row, and they're 4-6 in their last 10 games.
Yeah.
And
doesn't sound like a playoff-worthy team to me.
No, it really doesn't. Even though, just looking at comparison, the Western Conference, OKC is 42-36, and then you have the bottom 3 teams with less than 500 records. So it's kind of like with how well does the playoff system actually work, that you have regular season teams that are doing a lot better than some, but then, quote-unquote, the worst teams are going into the playoffs. But then it doesn't really look with OKC's play that they're really, right now, deserving a playoff spot.
Yeah, and I think when it really comes down to it at the end of the day for the Western Conference, it's pretty safe to say that it'll probably be Golden State and Houston in the conference final. The Spurs and Dallas are always cheeky. They just find ways to get to games that they probably don't belong in, regardless of how old they might be or not.
Right.
So, I'd like to see more of a younger, vibrant conference final. I think a Warriors-Rockets conference final would be exciting in the West.
I think Golden State is going all the way because just Steph Curry is just too good.
Mm-hmm. No, it's hard to argue against him. The man is a 3-point machine and continues to embarrass people.
They have lost
day in, day out.
They've lost 15 games all year.
Yeah,
all year.
You can't argue against that.
That's an insane record, especially because they played 80-some games, something like that.
I believe it's 84 or something 84, of that nature. Yeah,
it's. So they're 63-15 right now.
Well, it can't be 84 because mathematically that doesn't add up. Anyway, I don't know how to count. Anyway,
they play a lot of games.
And
to lose only 15,
that's a big deal.
So far, that's pretty impressive.
Exactly, and Atlanta's only lost 19 games this year so far, which is impressive for them as well, as they're the top of the Eastern Conference. As much as I want to say Atlanta you'd like to pick the number one clear through, I really think it'll be more of a Cleveland or a Chicago that would make it through to that final from the Eastern side, because I don't think Atlanta is as good as everybody feels like they are.
And I mean, that could be a fair assumption to make, especially that LeBron James is on the Cavaliers, and although we have seen in the past where the one player can't win the game, and LeBron James, trust me, he's tried, but you can't do it. But with a star-studded player, and you have a little bit more backup now this year than compared to years past, I think he will be able to get the Cavaliers deep, but they will definitely not beat whoever they meet in the Western Conference, because I think, the top two teams right now in the Western Conference, I could see beating the Cavaliers no problem.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the way James Harden is shooting right now, and I know I keep talking about this, but I was able to watch the OKC Thunder and Houston Rockets game on Sunday, and it literally came down to James Harden versus Russell Westbrook. It would be, James Harden's going to be double-teamed on the top of the key. Well, I'm going to just step back and drop a three. Oh, Russell Westbrook is, from 30 feet out. Oh, I'm going to drop a three. It came down to the most ridiculous shots between the two guys, and James Harden, at the end of the day, ended up taking home the victory for his team with a 103-100 victory. But even still, he and Westbrook both finished with over 40 points in that game. It was just a lot of fun to watch. Speaking of something that's also fun to watch, Grant, like we said, the hockey playoffs, they're getting very, very close right now. We saw the Minnesota Wild win last night 2-1 against the Chicago Blackhawks.
It was a huge game.
It was, and the Wild clinched a playoff spot with that victory as well. So why don't you run down some of the interesting things going on right now? I know your Blues are doing really well right now. They've got 105 points. They're top of the Central right now. That's a huge deal.
It was really nice that the Wild did win last night, because it did take some heat off of the Blues. Now, right now, the big playoff battle right now is actually in the Eastern Conference, battling for the wild card spot. You have three teams all within a point of each other. Pittsburgh Penguins just have had an awful end of the season. Their last 10 games, they're 3-5-2, and before even those last 10 games, they have not been playing well.
Well, they got kind of pounded on Sunday as well by the Flyers.
They did. It was like 4-1 or 5.
4-1.
Yeah, and they've just not been playing well.
I actually caught the last 3 minutes of that game.
Proud of you.
This is what happens when I have free time, Grant.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
And then so they have 96 points. Boston Bruins have 95 points, and the Ottawa Senators, who are losing the tiebreaker right now and are outside of the playoffs, also have 95 points, but they did win last night against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh,
so
baby.
That's in overtime, however. So the Pittsburgh Penguins were able to pick up a point on that. But it's just going to be a wild race. The Red Wings are also, you could say, a bubble team, because they have 97 points, and they're in the bottom playoff seed spot, you could say, in the Atlantic Division, and Boston is only 2 points behind them. So Detroit is looking a little bit safe, because all teams have 2 games or 1 game left. So there's not too much space that Detroit could lose. But if they lose their next 2 games and Boston wins the next 2, then it could be all over for Detroit, depending how some of the other teams play.
See, now I have a question for you in terms of the Western Conference. How good are the Winnipeg Jets, in all honesty? They have 96 points right now, and I know that Calgary in the Pacific is got 95 points. Is Winnipeg a clear shot into getting that wild card spot, or just how good is Winnipeg? Because I feel like we've talked about them sparingly throughout the season,
right.
But I never really hear you say the Winnipeg team, keep an eye on them. They're talented. They're loaded with players. Like, I'm just curious to know just kind of how good they actually are.
They're not huge, like loaded with star-studded players, but just take this into account that the Blues have 105 points and they beat the Blues and shut them out 1-0 last night. So it's not like they're an awful team. They're kind of like the Wild, as they had a really strong end of the season. Well, the Wild didn't even have a strong end of the season. They had a fantastic second half of the season. But
they really did.
About the last month,
they've gone wild.
Yeah. Stop.
Sorry.
About the last month and a half, the Winnipeg Jets, they were kind of really questionable on if they were going to be able to keep that wild card spot, because there was a lot of teams doing really well, making a playoff push, but they did it right back and were winning like 5-6 games straight. I know they had a chunk in there where they did that. So they're not like a super star-studded team, but they're doing enough to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I would love nothing more than to see LA not make the playoffs this year.
But why, Grant? They're such a great team.
I just really don't want to see them win.
LA's kind of screwed me a few times when I play my daily bracket game, because it comes to picking hockey games, and I'm like, LA's a pretty good team, and they always lose when I pick them. I'm like, well, then fine, I just won't pick it. And then they win when I pick against them.
Yeah, but then, look, last year they were playing the Sharks. The Sharks went up 3-0 in the series, and everybody's like, finally, LA's done. LA comes back, or the Kings, I should say. The Kings come back and win 4 straight games to win the series.
That's a classic right there.
Yeah, and it was annoying. That's what it was.
I know it was.
And then they go all the way and win the whole stinking thing. So that was just... And I don't like him because 2 years ago, they beat the Blues in the first round.
It always comes back to somebody that they've beaten. You're like, they beat the Blues. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Packers. They found a way to beat the Packers. I don't know how they did. They probably beat the Badgers at one point or another, too. It's okay, Grant. It's okay.
It still hurts.
I know it is.
But they're a team that a couple of years ago, when they did have a couple like superstar set of players, but then last year they really didn't, and they still found a way to win the Stanley Cup. So they're kind of like, let's say, like a Michigan State team, if that makes sense for you basketball folk, that they can, they make really deep pushes into the finals or the playoffs or whatever you want to call it. So that's another team to watch, because they're at 93 points, and the Calgary Flames, or Calgary, however you want to say it. There's a couple different...
The Canadiens.
Yeah, exactly. They have 95 points, so they're kind of duking that out. But LA did lose their last game, and Calgary has won their last 2.
Wow. So I mean, it's going to be a wild ride to the end of the season. No,
not for the Minnesota Wild, because they clinched.
I mean, they qualified, so it'll be a wild ride in the playoffs to see how far they go. But you know what's not a wild ride? Actually, it is a pretty wild ride.
What's a wild ride?
Your rant. When it comes to Grant's Rant, it's always exciting. For those of you that don't know, Grant's Rant is the part of the show where Grant gets 30 seconds to rant about anything he wants in the sports world, and all we get to do is sit back and listen. Grant, are you...
So I thought you were going to, like, bring in Laura's segment or something. I totally forgot that my segment was coming up.
Like, Laura's not even near the microphone. She's across the studio, Grant. And you're like, looking at her like, why aren't she over here yet? And I'm like, no, she's not supposed to be, Grant.
And I was like, oh, yeah, right.
The show order is literally printed in front of us, and Grant is, like, looking at Laura like, get over here.
It's always the last segment before the second break. It's always been that way. I don't see why we should change that.
The staple that is the Bax and Grant Sports Show centers around Grant's rant, and he doesn't even know when his own spotlight is. Anyway, 30 seconds on the clock, Grant. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, get set and go.
The UConn women won their 3rd straight national title, and giving their coach his 10th national title, where, yeah, that's great, that's fantastic, that's good and all. They've won undefeated, I'm pretty sure, a couple of times, and this year they didn't. But it brings up the question, is there such thing as being too good, and is it a little too ridiculous, and should we find a way to give other teams a little bit of a chance, because 3 in a row is pretty ridiculous.
How do you give a team a chance? Be like, you know what, we're just not going to win this game because we feel bad for you.
Like, UConn's not allowed to play basketball for the next year.
Oh my gosh,
it's kind of it kind of happened also with the New England Patriots. They did the same exact thing. They won their 3 years in a row.
And
they've been to 6 championship games now. So it kind of brings into question in sports in general, not just the UConn women. I'm not just trying to point them out, but they're the current team right now that's doing it, just being extremely dominant in a sport where it seems that nobody can stop you. And it was like UConn and Notre Dame rematch from last year, and I'm like, I can guarantee you who's going to win that game. Oh, yeah. And then even in the Final Four game, I'm pretty sure they steamrolled whoever they played. So did Notre Dame, but it wasn't a shock when UConn did it. And there was even a couple times in the tournament when you brought it up
they beat a team by 50 at one point.
So it's ridiculous. So
it's just no one to say no. I mean, just you're up by 30, stop dropping 3-pointers, with 10 minutes left to go. Anyway, we're going to take a fast break. When we come back, the MLB season is back in full swing. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Cardinals, the Brewers, and anything else that looks a little fun. And then intern Laura's here to do her thingamabopper, and it's What If Wednesday, Grant. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
All right, Grant. Well, the America's pastime, which I still don't think it is. I mean, maybe it's just because I just don't like baseball. No, I like baseball. I don't know.
This is as America as it gets.
Is it really about? America, Grant?
It really is.
What is America, Grant?
But think about it. Football, where did that originate? Because I can't...
American football?
Yeah, American football.
Sure. When you call it American football, you assume that it was originally.
I haven't heard of any other place where it started, and I feel like football would have more of a following.
American thing, yeah. It's
but a pastime. I guess baseball is more of historic, even though they started up around the same time. But I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, even though apparently
not
anymore.
America's team.
But people calling them
Shut
America's
them down.
team.
Jerry Jones needs to just retire already. Good Lord, he's gonna still manage to run the team in his grave. Anyway, I love Jerry Jones. Great guy.
Moving on. Baseball.
Baseball right now. Opening day was just a few short days ago. Grant, some of the big-time things that happened, the Milwaukee Brewers doing what they...
rickrolled.
They really did. I had a really great moment the other day. I have these moments occasionally, and I usually just laugh to myself, and there's no one else to appreciate it because I just, Anyway, I asked Siri how the Brewers did, because I was curious. I mean, I knew the score, but it's always fun to ask how they do. And I said, hey, Siri, how did the Brewers do against the Colorado Rockies? And this is what she says to me. She says, the Brewers' keg ran dry against the Rockies today. The final score was 10-0. I'm like, Siri, you are my new best friend. I was like,
you joker.
That was beautiful. She's like, the Brewers. I had to have her do it twice because I'm like, what is she? Because I didn't look at it the first time. And then I looked at the screen. She's like, the Brewers' keg ran dry. I'm like, the what? What? And like, the Brewers' keg ran dry. I'm like, oh, I got it.
Excuse you, Baxter. This is what I'm saying.
I'm like, okay, Siri, I'm sorry. So I bow down to your superiority. But anyway, the Milwaukee Brewers have not had a great start to their season. They're 0-2. They're done. Out of the playoff race. Shut it down. Time to rebuild.
Look at the draft.
I'm sure there's some random 10-year-old prospect in Minnesota that's a new caliber. I don't know. There's always these random prospects. Like, there's this high schooler in West Virginia that, hit 700 home runs last year. It's just... I don't understand the baseball.
Really?
I maybe not 700.
I was going to say, that's a little excessive.
He averages 12 a game, and he bats 3 times a game. Think about that one. Math. Anyway, Grant, how did the Cardinals do in their opening weekend?
Well, they only played one game because one was postponed to rain.
Boo.
But
Come on. Okay, can I just for a second? It's rain!
Yeah, but
was there lightning? Did anybody die?
But baseball does play through rain, and there is... Just think about you're throwing this ball, really small ball, 90-plus miles an hour.
Wear a towel. That's what NFL quarterbacks do.
Yeah, but that ball is made out of pigskin. It's rougher. It's bigger. It's easier to throw. Have you ever tried to throw in a wet baseball?
Yes, I have.
It's not fun.
I can throw a wet baseball easier than a wet football.
I could... well, you know how well I throw a football, but...
It's okay, Grant. We still love you. That's why you play line.
Yeah. But I'm small. Anyway, throwing a wet baseball is extremely difficult.
I guess.
But anyway, this is not the topic. I want to talk about the Cardinals, okay?
Get a towel, Grant. Towel off the ball and
But they do play through baseball sometime. They play
through baseball?
I
hope they play baseball
through baseball sometime.
They play through rain.
No, they play through rain sometimes.
Oh, got it.
I don't know the weather situation. It might have been lightning. Just leave them alone, okay?
Okay, fine. Anyway, so the Cardinals...
They played opening night against the Cubs. They won the game 3-0, and there was a lot of good things that happened, a lot of things that made me smile. Adam Wainwright got the victory. He's looking tip-top shape per usual. Matt Holliday did well, but big story... Well, actually, one other thing that kind of made me chuckle, and it's just really funny because I'm at... Look at NBC Sports. It's hardballtalk.nbcsports.com did an article, and it says John Lester making his debut with the new Cubs, signing a new 6-year, $155 million contract, only lasted 4 1/3 inning. Just kind of made me chuckle.
What a guy.
And I was like, when the Cubs signed him, everybody was like, oh my gosh, this is going to solve all of our problems. John Lester, oh my gosh. I'm like,
the Cubs won't sign.
He's not good. He's declined, I would say.
Bring back Sammy Sosa. That'll solve the Cubs' problems.
Even though he lost to Mark McGwire.
Irrelevant. Anyway. Bring back Sammy.
But the big story.
Yes.
You didn't let me finish.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if you were done or not. Please finish.
The big story was Jason Hayward going 3 for 5 with a pair of doubles and a stolen base into third base, actually. So that was nice. It was in the third base. Because I watched the game. It was actually kind of cool because...
It was in the third base?
You could say that. It might not make sense, but in the third base. But it was cool because the St. Louis Cardinals were in Chicago playing the Cubs, and the St. Louis Blues were in Chicago playing the Blackhawks, and they both won. So it was great. And they were both on national television. I was like, I had to choose which game to watch. That was really difficult for me.
I can imagine.
And I'm like, do I watch a Blues game or do I watch opening night? It was difficult. But I chose the Blues, if anybody was wondering.
Yeah. Baseball.
Whoop, whoop. I chose hockey.
I
said the Blues.
I don't know. I don't know sports. That's why I host a sports show.
How do you sport?
I don't know how to sport. If it's not soccer, I don't know. The Revolution won, Grant. Woo!
Finally. It took them long enough.
I know. Come on. They've won their last 2
But they didn't win 9-1, did they?
You know what? That's Real Madrid. That's Cristiano Ronaldo. That's a whole other style of
Did one of their players score 5 goals?
No.
I know soccer. Don't worry.
Do you? You know one game. You're like, Baxter, look at my soccer knowledge.
Because ESPN sent me a notification about it because they're like, well, soccer's officially broken. Here, let me tell you about it.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. But you know what's not broken, Grant?
What's not broken?
Intern Laura's not broken.
Good.
It's time to bring in Intern Laura, Grant. I was letting the music run for a little bit. Everyone's looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm letting the music run. And
Is anybody going to say anything?
Yeah, no, you have to let the music, like for Grant's rant, you have to let it go for a second too. But yes, Intern Laura is here. Now I will loud you and be like, hello, Intern Laura's here.
Yay, hi.
Huzzah. Welcome back, Laura. How are you?
Well, I'm great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Doing good.
I'm a little sleepy, but I'm good.
Sorry. Wake you up, shake her around a little bit.
Slap my face.
We should talk like Laura for an entire show. Like, hi, welcome to the Baxter and Grant Sports Show.
I love everyone. Hi. I love sports.
Stop.
Let me tell you about sports.
My boyfriend's a Cowboys fan.
Oh my goodness, I'm 600% done with you.
600%.
Wow, that's a lot of percent.
That's a lot of. I can't even with that one. All right, Laura. So it's time for your. I don't know. It's time for your thingamabopper.
It is.
What do you got for us today?
All right. Well, I'm going to talk to you about a child game that has gone professional.
Woo!
And has world championships.
Curling.
It's actually no.
Oh.
Sorry.
They do have world championships. Stop making fun of
they
it.
do.
Actually,
Laura actually showed me a really cool curling video. It was awesome.
I actually watched it too. It was pretty.
It was pretty cool.
That was the coolest thing ever.
Are we going to tell the public?
No.
Laura,
okay.
Sorry, do
Well, it's actually a rendition of a child game, Thumb Wars, where you put your thumbs together, stuff like that. But this is Toe Wars, and it's a real thing. It started in the UK in the 70s, and it is still a big thing now. No, but
that's actually shocking.
It's in Europe, so probably.
There's always beer involved.
There's always beer involved, but like these
Say the
guys,
same about Wisconsin, though. But anyway, sorry.
these guys get really jacked up, and they're huge, and they got they even got little tattoos on their big toes, and they lock their big toes, and then they arm wrestle with them. It's hilarious.
How do
It's
you
fantastic.
weightlift for that? Is there specific big toe rigs that you just go I'm gonna hit the gym and work out my big toe?
We should ask Connor that on Friday. Be like, I need a health program to work out my toes.
Does eating straight fiber out of just the container help?
Ew.
Blocks of fiber. Oh my god!
If anybody watches Dude Perfect and watches their stereotype videos,
the gym one?
the gym. That's what we're referencing. There's a guy has a big protein thing and just eating it by the handfuls. It's disgusting to watch, but it's hilarious.
Oh man!
But that's what I think about if I would think of somebody preparing to weightlift with their big
and they
toe.
probably got some fancy diet, I can't eat all that fat, it'll go straight to my big toe.
Is there a weight class for this?
No, not that I noticed.
In the heavy toe.
His toe weighs 2 pounds. Oh my god!
It's a big deal, and it looks super fun.
Yeah.
I think we should give it a try, guys.
We should have.
We have the Baxter Grand Sports Show tournament.
Toe wrestling.
Yes.
Toe wrestling tournament.
Can we please?
Oh my gosh.
We never did have that wife carrying competition either.
We need to, yeah. We were going to do it on the beaches in Florida, and then our wife, not our wife, your wife, I'm not married to her, we're not in Utah, sorry. Anyway, your wife and Laura were nowhere to be found when it came to the races, so I think we just picked up Connor and Danny and just ran them on the beach for a while, but either way, oh my gosh. But Laura, before we let you go, we are going to play What If, but I want to hear about the Brewers and because you're a Brewers fan.
I do, I really love the Brewers.
Tell us, I know that they lost, but give us your thoughts about the Brewers so far.
I was disappointed. I didn't watch the entire game, but I checked in, and it was 10-0, 7th inning, and I was like, oh, no.
It was 10-0 by the 4th inning.
It was?
Yeah.
That's bad. And I was like, Rockies, who are they? And I was like, why are we losing against this team that why? And I was so upset. But I'm hanging in there. I'm hoping that it'll be okay.
It'll turn around. It's a long season. It's a rebuilding year.
Basically, you could say with the Rockies that this is going to be the only time they're ahead of the division. Well, how the Rockies have played.
I hope they're mediaizing the fact out of all of this. Be like, look at this.
We're getting it out of our system now, so we can say that at one point of the season they were ahead.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're gonna play What If fast before we head off for the day. I know that Grant is your friend and trying to figure out what his What If is.
Oh, I have it.
Did you get it?
Oh, I have it.
Well, before the show, you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Well, okay, I had an idea, but I was gonna try to think of something different because I wanted to get off the Wisconsin Badger theme because yours is themed, and I know we talked about it in excess in the first half, but I was like, you know what, it's better than anything I could think of.
Okay. Well, I will let you lead.
I thought of it.
You can lead with the What If. Go ahead.
What if the Wisconsin Badgers shooting, or especially their free throws in the first half, were better?
I think that the Badgers would have probably still lost. They didn't make a lot of the crucial 3-pointers. Their free throws are important, but they went 7 of 21 from 3-point range, thus resulting in being down by as many as they were, and they were not able to hit key shots when they needed to.
But they were only down by 5.
I know they were, but still, 3-pointers were huge, and I feel like Sam Decker from 3 was way more important than the free throw line.
Right, and he did not shoot well.
Laura?
I don't know if I agree with that.
No? Okay. Boom! I know, controversy.
I think that they could have brought it back if they would have made their free throws. Just as my grade school and my beginning of high school knowledge of free throws back, my coach used to always say free throws were everything, and I think that they should have paid more attention to those. They should have gotten those down in the bag.
Well, they normally do. It was actually kind of shocking of how many free throws they missed.
Must have been the pressure.
Exactly. All right, Laura, your what if for us is?
All right, my what if for you today is if we had a Big Toe tournament in our studio.
Yes.
With all of the members, all the guests, who would win?
Oh my gosh. I'd say I feel like Danny would, because Danny's got really strong leg muscles.
Yeah, Danny's a runner.
He's a cross country runner.
That is true.
So I've
got like Connor and I have soccer leg muscles, but I feel like Danny's got the endurance to like take us out.
I actually have a very strong lower body because of curling and just naturally how I'm built.
Oh my god.
Curling
body is
it builds a lot of lower.
I bet it does.
It builds a lot of lower body.
All right. Well, my what if question for both of you before I send you all both on your way is what if Sam Dekker does decide to return to the Badgers this year instead of declaring for the NBA draft?
If Sam Dekker does come back next year, it will definitely help the Badgers, but they're not going to have a season as nearly as successful as they did this year. The big reason being is the Big Ten Player of the Year, the college basketball men's Division I Player of the Year. In all aspects, I think he won like every Player of the Year award.
I think he did, yeah.
Which
he won the Baxter Grand Sports Show Player of the Year.
He did, and he did beat Okafor in that game.
He did.
Hands down, Okafor was a non-factor. Kaminsky shut him down, but Kaminsky's not going to be there next year. He is going to the draft. He's going to the draft. He's a senior. This was his last season, so unfortunately, I highly doubt we'll see the Badgers back where they finished this year.
Mm-hmm. And Laura, your thoughts?
He just hit on it. What I was going to say. Frank the Tank is going to be there next year. He's a senior. He's graduating, and they're kind of like little dream team going on right there. And I think that next year that they won't have that power without Frank, because I mean they got him good in the post and they got Sam on the outside, and
it's going to be hard next season.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
I
completely agree. All right, well, intern Laura, thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate it. Where can the good people of Twitter find you again?
You can find me on Twitter at intern Laura BGSS.
All right, we appreciate you. We'll see you again on Friday. All right, Grant, it's been another exciting edition of the Baxter Grand Sports Show. Grant is going to go back into the hole that he came from because he's still a little upset about the Badgers, but it's all good, Grant. Friday will be a new day. Connor will be here.
I don't want to go to my theology class. Everything's over.
Okay. It'll be fine. And we'll have some golf for you on Friday as well. The Masters will be in full swing, literally. Hopefully Joe Wolfrath will be here as well. I'm sorry, it just works so well.
You already use that for baseball. You're not allowed to use that for golf.
It'll be in full wedge, full chip. It just doesn't sound as good. Anyway, for intern Laura, Grant Coppersmith, full putt? I'm not exactly sure.
We'll work on it.
Exactly. I'm Baxter Colburn. That's Grant Coppersmith. She's intern Laura. We'll see you all on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, which is...
Hump Day!
See ya!